AM 1220 KDOW presents Money 2.0. Money 2.0. Now, with a focus on your mortgage and the real estate marketplace, here's your Money 2.0 host, Tony Mendes.
Welcome into the Real Estate Report. I'm Tony Mendes.
And I'm Gordon Hinds.
Thanks for being with us today.
Drive time. Every Thursday we're here, 6 to 7, the drive time special, I call it.
It's the call-in show, 800-516-1220, 800-516-1220. And you can email the show, tony@bayarealoansource.com. We have some good emails today to get to, Gordon, as well as...
good. We have great emails.
Great emails.
There we go.
What's the difference between good and great?
Great. It's the difference between
It's
good
better.
and great.
It's just a little bit better.
Than good.
It's like Nigel. They had
the
the amp that went up from 10 to 11. 10 was good, but 11 was great.
Yeah, so it's a higher degree of good. How's that?
Exactly. There we go. Speaking of good or great, rates are looking fantastic over the last few days. Still bouncing off 2017 lows. It's good cheap money. I think that's just the best way to say it.
Well, we always say the cheapest money you can get in today's world is always on your house. The cheapest money. And there's no other cheaper money that's out there other than borrowing against your 401k and borrowing from yourself. But that's the cheapest money you're going to get.
And we could see these low rates for a longer period of time. The ECB came back and with some inflation projections that were a little bit weaker than expected. And they announced that they might keep their asset purchase program a little bit longer. We already know they're going to keep it through December, but they said that if necessary, they'll go further.
Well, I also saw this morning that the Feds, of course, were planning 2 additional rate hikes for 2017. I guess based on the weak job numbers, I think they're meeting coming up next here at the end of this month in June. They might not raise the rate, so we'll have to play it by ear and see which direction it goes.
Yeah, that lends to lower interest rates throughout the rest of the year, even though the Fed may increase their short-term rates, which would affect prime, which would affect your equity lines. And I still think we're going to see a lot more people, and we have over the last several months and quarters, where more and more people are cashing out on their refinances as opposed to getting an equity line. Something worth talking about, something worth analyzing as you're looking at ways to pay off some debt or do a home improvement or whatever else you want to do with equity in your house. There's a story, in fact, we'll get to a little bit later, about the amount of equity that is growing here in the United States. We added another 9 million homes in the United States over the last quarter that are back in an equity position as to opposed negative equity, and we're up to 283 billion, or down to 283 billion of negative equity. That's, you're upside down. So that's been shrinking a lot. We know here in the Bay Area, it'd be really hard to find a house that's upside down right now.
Yeah, it is. That's why a lot of the loan modifications have actually kind of gone away. I tell people all the time, equity cured a lot of problems we were having. It's a good sign is anytime you see the banks, the major banks are pushing equity lines again. Every time you walk into the bank, they got these big advertisements there. Hey, we have equity lines starting at 1%, no appraisal, $250 cost. So that's a good sign. That means that there is value in your homes, and that's the reason why the banks are pushing it. So I always tell people, be careful, because read the fine print, because there's a lot to those equity loans that you don't see up front. They're easy to get to, but kind of hard to get out of.
Another thing too, and we're getting a little bit kind of nerdy about guidelines. If you go out and get an equity line and then you want to do a refinance and pay that equity line off, whether it's 6 months or 6 years from now, that's considered a cash out transaction if you use that for cash out. But if you were to do a cash out refinance, a total refinance, 6 months later, you can do that as a rate and term loan, and you can continue getting the better rate. So there's some things you want to consider, and don't let somebody just sell you that equity line without really looking at all your options. It's worth mentioning that, with these low rates, that I know you, Gordon, you're very pro real estate in California. You're pro Bay Area real estate, national real estate. I know you own property out of the state as well. But these low interest rates, if you're sitting on the sideline right now and you hear that interest rates, somebody's sitting on the sidelines waiting to buy, that is, and you see that low interest rates could stick around for a little bit longer, that means that home prices can keep going up, just purely based on the fact that affordability is going to stay low. So we're encouraging people to at least look at their finances and see if it makes sense to buy a house now. We're going to actually talk today about low down payment products. We're getting more and more calls about people who are just saying there's just not enough news. There's not enough education out there about low down payment products. Even in the jumbo territory range, And we want to make sure we get that out to people. So stick around and definitely listen to that. But what are your thoughts on how low interest rates will affect home prices?
It's kind of interesting you mentioned that. I was talking to a friend of mine today. He's a big stock market enthusiast. As we know, the stock market has been on an upward run. And he says to me, he says, Gordon, I got all this money sitting on the sideline, and I don't know when to get in because I believe the market is going to continue to go up, and I don't want it to go up and I get in now and then the prices fall and I have a negative equity. It's the same kind of parallel we're seeing in the housing market. A lot of people don't know when to get in because everybody's complaining the prices are too high. But conversely, if you go back a year, I always tell people the best reflection on anything is to look back in time. So if you look back in time a year ago last year, if you were having this conversation with us on June 9th, 2016, where June 8th, 2016, a year prior, where's the market now versus a year ago? So that's always the answer. Nothing is ever guaranteed, or as they say in the market, past performance is no guarantee for future predictions, but it's a sign of the time. So both markets are doing well, and there are a lot of people that are nervous. When I say nervous, it's a good nervous because they want to get in the market. They just don't know when to get in. I think the old stock market is cliche, of course. Easiest place to get rich, buy low and sell high. We just don't know when the low is and when the high is going to be, right?
I actually had a client contact me to say that he can buy a house free and clear. He's looking at a new property in Fremont. And he decided, and I want to get a $400 loan. He says the money is so cheap, and I think I can make more money in the stock market. So people are, I'm not saying this is your best strategy, Gordon, but you can see the mentality here where people are saying real estate is great. I get the tax benefits. I even get the interest deduction on top of that low interest rate, and then I can use that $400,000 somewhere else.
Well,
it's a great. It's something that a lot of people in real estate business and especially in radio talk about how real estate is one of the best and easiest things to leverage.
It is because once again, it's just cheap. It's the cheapest money you can get. There's a positive and negative to everything we do. It is cheap money, but most people complain about the amount of paperwork that they have to get a real estate loan. I guess that's one of the downfalls. But anything that you want to pay for that's worth it, you've got to spend some time and invest in time, and that's what investing in the application is. I know we make our clients jump through a whole lot of hoops because of QM. We want to make sure that the loan is going to perform. You're going to be able to pay your obligation back. So we make you jump through a lot of hoops. But in the end, I think it's worth it with QM. And I think that whole
qualified mortgage,
that QM, great definition. I think that whole perspective is actually kind of what really turned our market back around from the crash we had back in 2007, 2008, 2009.
You can always call the show 800-516-1220, 800-516-1220. You can email the show, Tony@BayAreaLoanSource.com or info@BayAreaLoanSource.com. Low interest rates also give people opportunities to do cash out, to refinance, lower the rates, what I call manage your mortgage. But one of the things that we're seeing more often, you see this all the time, Gordon, is people looking at shortening their term. I ran a quick kind of snapshot of what it would mean if you were to have a $442,000 loan 5 years later, which is today. You'd have a $400,000 loan at 4%. Let's say you took that 4% loan and or that $400,000 loan and refinanced it now into a 20-year loan, and say it's about 3.25%. So your payments now increase to $2,268 from $2,110, but you're going to pay $89,000 less over the next 20 years as opposed to keeping that higher interest rate. So a lot of people are saying shorter terms are working for us. But you have to qualify for it, of course.
I can show you the opposite side. I've got a lot of people who are asking me, hey, Gordon, when are those 40-year mortgages coming back? Because longer terms mean hence lower payments. Of course, you're leveraging more, so you're going to pay more over the long run. But most people, I call it 30-day money. Most of us manage our budgets by 30 days because every 30 days we got obligations that are due. So in order to buy these high-priced homes, if you're talking about low interest rates are great, but stretching out terms are even better because now you can make that house a little bit more affordable with that additional 120 months to pay versus the standard 30-year fix. So we got both things going on both sides, of course. The longer term is great. Shorter term, when you're looking to pay it off, I guess it depends on your age bracket. If you're 55 years old and you want to refinance a loan, probably going to look at doing a shorter term. Where if you're 25 years old and you're looking to refinance or purchase a loan, you're looking at a 40 or 50-year term.
40 years are back. They're not as pretty as you want. They're not a qualified mortgage. They're called a non-qualified mortgage. and they're back. And you can go jumbo loans. We know lenders that'll go $1.5 million with 10% down on a 40-year loan with an interest-only option. So going back to my comment about people sitting on the sideline and going, oh, rates, home prices are going up. When they're going to stop eventually. I don't want to put a lot of money into the property. These are ways to do it. But it also means that these products aren't being used that often. Most people are getting a 30-year fixed. So when these products are out there, more and more people will start being able to use these with a lower down payment. Then you have the whole shortage of inventory. So those people sitting on the sidelines, I guess this might be the theme of the show today.
Don't sit on the sidelines. You got to be in it to win it. That's the lottery team, right?
Yeah, you never win if you don't play. Do be careful. We're here as a second opinion, of course, and it's always our main goal to make sure you cover all your options. And more and more people, Gordon, are talking to their CFPs and CPAs before they even buy a house today.
Well, that's what we always recommend. Leave Cousin Vinny alone. I got to get Cousin Vinny in every week. I'm always pushing people. Always talk to the professional. I think you get good professional advice. You're always off on a better deal. So anytime you have a question, talk to the CPA. Don't talk to Cousin Vinny. Call your tax. Call your architect. Call the city planner if you want to know about permits. So always look to the professional. You're going to get sound advice that's going to take you a longer way rather than taking the shortcut and get it from somebody you think that you know.
And they're out there, people who are there to help you. And again, more and more people we see on a daily basis are working with CPAs and CFPs before they even cross our desk. What do you have today, Gordon?
Well, actually, one of the other things I'm noticing is as people are getting creative as far as writing offers are concerned in a competitive market. I just had an offer I was reviewing from a client, and she had her CPA write her a letter stating that, hey, how she'd been saving all this period of time, sacrificing, trying to get into this house. I don't know if the offer got accepted yet, but we're seeing people getting very creative, reaching out to professionals, anybody that can be an ally in your application package to make sure your house offer gets accepted over somebody else in a competitive market. It's not a bad idea. I never thought about that, but we see things go a different way all the time, and I'm always excited and hope that she gets that offer accepted.
That's good news. This is the type of market, as we see inventory fluctuate throughout the year. This is, again, right in the beginning of our buying season. It'll kind of fall off a little bit in the middle of summer and then pick right back up in the fall, the beginning of the fall. There's inventory out there. So put your best foot forward, write the best offer you can. I think that's how we're going to end this segment, and work with the professionals.
Absolutely.
There's some really good realtors out there that know how to work your deal with the other realtors on the other end of that deal. And we do know some of them if you're interested in contact us. With that said, we'll come back after this break here on AM 1220 KDOW. This is Tony Mendes and Gordon Hinds. You can always reach us 800-516-1220, 800-516-1220, or email the show, Tony@BayAreaLoanSource.com or Gordon@BayAreaLoanSource.com.
AM 1220 KDOW.
I said the hip hop, the hip to the hip hop, you don't stop the rocket to the bang bang boogie. Say up jump the boogie to the rhythm of the boogie to beat. Now what
This would surprise you, Gordon, but this is actually on my playlist.
Are you serious?
Welcome back into the Real Estate Report. I'm Tony Mendes.
And I'm Gordon Hinds.
You can call the show 800-516-1220, 800-516-1220.
Or email at
Gordon@BayAreaLoanSource.com or Tony@BayAreaLoanSource.com. Home flipping, I know you don't like that word, but home flipping is the lowest it's been in 2 years. Single family and condo flipping is down 8% from the last quarter. I think the story here really isn't the decrease in the activity, but that more mortgages are being used for flippers, showing that signs that financial environment for these investors has improved, or the financing options has improved. Darren Bloomquist, he's the senior VP at Atom Data Solutions. He says financing of homes purchased for flips has reached a high we haven't seen since 2007, and it continues to grow. That's good news to hear that investors that typically had issues in the past, they have to use their cash to buy the property and then use the cash to fix up and then list the house and sell it. Now they're getting financing.
Well, here's what I know for sure. If home flipping is down, it's not due to the home flipper, because there are plenty of flippers out there. We get calls all the time. I talked to a client this week. I said, Gordon, listen, I like to still let you know I'm still looking for property. Give me the ones that that are interested in, the ones that needs foundation, need new roofs, the ones that are total turnoffs. Those are the ones I'm especially interested in because this guy's a licensed contractor. So I know for sure that there are many people that call us every day looking for deals. And those things are the hardest thing to come by. And it's part of the inventory problem, of course. And of course, a lot of people have been profitizing off of home flipping. So a lot of people are doing it now. So it's a little bit more competitive than it used to be, even though there's more money involved in it. And not only strictly all cash deals. There are many companies now that offer the finance, the purchase price, and would allow you to leverage some of that money into the fix-up cost, what we call the future value type loan. So there you have it.
The other part of the story is here that gross profits for those homes that are being flipped are setting new highs, levels that we haven't seen since 2000, with an average profit of $64,000 per property. Nevada, Alabama, Tennessee, Maryland, and Missouri topped the list of highest percentage transactions for flips. Nevada, I think a lot of people in California might go, Nevada. They're probably mostly in Vegas.
Well, that was one of the hardest hit states, according to the when the mortgage crashed. Nevada, Florida was the two of the hardest hit states as far as valuations were concerned. So probably that might be the case. So that's kind of right in that realm of an explanation why most of these states are making comeback. So the states were hit hardest that were the lowest are now seeing the opportunity to come back to be the highest.
What's the hardest part about getting the right deal, do you think? I know the answer.
Well, I think it's if I tell them, when people call me about flipping, which I always consider that to be a negative term, I like to use the word resale. I always tell them, of course, check with the professional. Once again, make sure your comps are right, because if you pay too much going in, it's going to be hard to overcome that profit margin going out. You just got to make sure that your right purchase is concerned. You can always cut back on something, but you can't cut back once you spend too much money on a property. And I've seen a lot of amateurs have done it. Overpaid for properties or get caught holding the bag. If the market stumbles on you and that house can't rent for what you're into it, or you don't have an exit strategy that we always talk about, you can those are the people that get hurt.
You mentioned something, exit strategy. People just buying a standard house. Let's say you get in bankruptcy, you end up in some sort of non-qualified mortgage or a portfolio loan, and you didn't fix your credit. You didn't work on your exit strategy. Maybe you're an investor. You go out and get a private loan. You buy this house, and then you want to keep it instead of reselling it. What's your exit strategy? You're going to be paying a high interest rate, and you may even have a balloon payment, and then you have to get another private loan. Did you fix your credit? A lot of people still get into transactions that don't have the exit strategy, and it's got to be the first thing that you think of is we're doing a transaction right now where we're paying off an IRS lien, 3 credit card debt, and luckily it's a very low loan to value, meaning they only owe $200,000 on a $900,000 property, so the equity's there, but the credit's really bad. So they're going to get into this loan, pay that off, but they have an exit strategy of fixing their credit, and these actually paying off this debt will improve their credit and allow them to get a better rate, maybe 6 months to a year later. But that's an exit strategy. And
there are many parts of an exit strategy. Credit is one of them, of course, because credit is the number one. Income, work on the income. If you're self-employed, stop writing off all those things and stop trying to pay less taxes, because you're going to be shooting yourself in the foot when it comes time to you get out of that non-QM or non-qualified mortgage, try to get into a QM or qualified mortgage, in which now you're going to be forced to document all your income. So that's another strategy you got to kind of work on. If you're trying to, LTV is always important. That's why anytime you get these loans and that you're short term on, a year, 2 years, 3 years, in 3 years time, that loan is ballooning, meaning all the money becomes due and payable. You have to pay that investor off, or he's going to charge you an exorbitant amount of money to extend the loan, possibly for another 12 months.
Or you have to get another, get another one, and you're paying points. Yeah, those private money loans they come with a little bit of twist, and they're easy to sell because they're fast and they don't have a lot of conditions. But as soon as you start seeing those points and you start seeing that year comes up fast, that 2 years comes up real fast. And if you haven't prepared, you'll be very. We do these all the time. You're welcome to give us a call, 800-516-1220, or email us about this, Tony@BayAreaLoanSource.com, or Gordon, who's especially the expert on this, Gordon@BayAreaLoanSource.com. We'll come right back after this break here on AM 1220 KDOW.
This is Money 2.0 on AM 1220 KDOW.
Welcome back. Tony's getting his headset together. I'm Gordon Hinds.
I'm definitely a lot more complex than you are.
Okay, no worries.
As far as like my facade. You can always call the show 800-516-1220, 800-516-1220. This is the Real Estate Report. We are talking real estate and a little bit of mortgages here. One of the topics that kind of came up across our desk through an email from Jim in Fremont. He's saving he's trying to save a bunch of money, but it's dumping into his 401k. He has high rent. He's paying $3,100 a month for a house, which seems pretty reasonable. I'm sure there's people paying more, but he's asking about low down payment products in the market. And we started the show kind of teasing people about this because it is something where we're getting a lot more activity. A lot of people are saying, where are they? Where's the education on this? Who do I trust? What's the right one to use? First of all, there's the standard low down payment products like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. You can do as little as 3%. If it's a high balance loan, where here in the Bay Area, high balance is $636,000, you can do 5% down and maybe 10% down. Even jumbo loans right now, you can do 10% down up to, in some cases, $2.5 million without mortgage insurance. So your goal here is to try to avoid mortgage insurance, figure out which payment works best or which product would work best for your down payment. And then you figure out your down payment and then work backwards. But there's also lenders are coming back with second loans, and some of them are fixed, some of them are equity lines, but the ones that are fixed, they're going up to 95%. I ran a quick scenario on what you could get if you did a 5% down jumbo. You could get up to, conforming loan on the first loan, and then 15% on the second loan could get you up to $795,000.
Wow, that's the old 80-15% 5?
That's the 80-15-5.
Wow, that's incredible.
And we have this lender right now doing this.
It's kind of interesting when the market went sour. Some of these products that are coming back, I never thought we would actually see again. So once again, equity and time, time heals all wounds, and it's definitely healed a big wound that we had here in the mortgage crisis. That's the challenge, of course, as we talk all the time. Is the hardest thing for most people doing trying to buy houses to save money because they have ongoing expenses. They have rent. Rents are sky high. Matter of fact, there's a girl that works in the office. Matter of fact, she just moved into her house on Memorial Day weekend. She was living down in Fremont. She was there 3 years. She started off paying $2,600 worth of rent. The following year, it went to $3,000. The next year, it went to $3,400. In that city that doesn't have any rent control, and then later gave her another increase of $3,800. She purchased a brand new house in one of the surrounding cities here, did an FHA type loan, 3.5% down on $660,000, and man, she's now a homeowner paying. I think her payment include taxes and insurance about $3,800. So she's right where she would be if she was a renter, but without that low down payment FHA style program, she would still be renting. So there's all kinds of different options that are out there. So always check with the professional, check with us. Feel free, give us a call, no obligation. We give advice, but we're also in the business of doing loans. So give us a call. We'll tell you our fair opinion. If we can't help everyone, but we try to help everybody in direction, even if we can't help you.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And we run into these scenarios all the time. Give us a call. You can always call the show 800-516-1220. You can get it on the air, but go to our website. You can always see us and see what we do, and reach out to us for any of the scenarios that you have at BayAreaLoanSource.com. So for Jim in Fremont, there's going to be a lot of options, and I think the one key here is that he makes good money. So even though you have a low down, and this is where a lot of people are getting caught, Gordon, is they have the low down payment, but they don't have and they want to buy a house, but they don't have the income to qualify. So you put less money down, means you have a higher payment, and you still have to qualify for that. That's where FHA kind of comes in. They have a little bit higher ratios. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, they just came back and they said, we're no longer going over 50% ratios. So it's kind of a give and take here and there. And then eventually you might end up steered towards some sort of non-qualified mortgage, and then you end up at a higher rate. You may have to rely on the interest only to pay it. So you really want to be aggressive as far as how much money you can put down. I call them cash in refinances or cash in purchases, where a little bit extra money that you can put in can actually benefit you on a rate of return. Something that we can talk about maybe another segment, but cash in transaction. We'll come back
to remember.
Cash transactions, more than down payment.
Okay.
We'll come back after this break here on AM 1220 KDOW. You can always email us, Tony@BayAreaLoanSource.com. We'll come right back after this break.
This is Money 2.0 on AM 1220 KDOW.
Welcome back into the Real Estate Report. I'm Tony Mendes.
And I'm Gordon Hinds.
You can always call the show 800-516-1220. Get your calls on the air. The 25 cities where millennials are moving, Gordon. Millennials are moving to American cities, not just the big ones. They're, of course, places like the Bay Area, Los Angeles, New York City. They're millennial magnets. But the Urban Land Institute is showing that smaller cities, all the way from Virginia Beach to Riverside, California, are seeing the most relative growth in their populations from the 25 to 34-year-olds. Some of the cities that are hitting the top of the list, and I own a property in Richmond, Virginia, and they are second on the list, and I love that my house is there. 14.9% change of millennials from 2010 to 2015. But then you go down here and you look at places like Sunnyvale, San Jose. There's actually a decline of 0.2% in the urban environment, and suburban is 3.7% decline. People are seeing, look at Vegas. Vegas is growing 2.9% and 6.9% in the suburbia. There's a lot of growth in these second-tier cities that, and the millennials are seeing not only the home prices there, but a lot of companies are saying, we're putting up our offices here because that's where millennials are going, and we can. It's just another perk for an employee when we can pay them money and they can actually use, that median income to buy a house. Where places like Sunnyvale and the Peninsula and Silicon Valley, it's a little bit difficult.
Well,
it's very, very difficult.
The key to the economy, as President Obama used to say, was jobs, jobs, jobs. Right? If you look at millennials, a lot of millennials, as I like the word, better word, but I use your word today. If you look at that group of people, a lot of the younger people, a lot of those people now can work from home. So if you can actually work from home, you don't have to stay in an expensive city. You can go out to a sideline city. You can get all the benefits of the city, all right, and then pay the less expensive housing expense in a sideline city. So I can see why some of those cities, like Richmond, Virginia, for example. I never been to Richmond. Well, I have been to Richmond actually a couple of times, but if I remember correctly, Richmond is like a metropolis of D.C. and Virginia Tech and all those areas. Every place is easy to get to.
Just far enough away, kind of like when you buy a house, just far enough away from your parents.
Okay, it's far enough, but you can get to where you need to get to within a short period of time. Yes. Correct? You got the airports, you got major transportation hubs, you got housing, you got affordable housing is the key thing, and that's the challenge that millennials have, is trying to save money to become homeowners. So, those kind of cities become kind of very attractive. That's why I see those sideline cities are always, I call the overflow cities, are always very, very attractive. That happened here a few years ago. You look at all the sideline cities like Antioch and Pittsburgh and Brentwood and those type of places. Vallejo had a big influx of people moving because that's where affordable housing was. And then once they got out there, factoring transportation and time to commute, they say, man, that wasn't such a great deal after all. But for you work from home, it's not that big of a deal.
We were actually looking at a property, investment property, and we were doing some research, and we ran across Nevada City, which is over by Auburn, and the 3 and 2 houses were, they're selling in the 400, 450 range. It's a little more pricey than Grass Valley, and the rents though are outrageous. There's just nobody renting houses. There's no vacancies at all, and there's plenty of sales. So there's a lot of, and I talked to a realtor there and just to kind of get a feel of what the city's all about. And they're saying that people are either coming here to retire or they're working from home.
Yeah.
They're able to work from home because it's a little difficult to get, to Sacramento from there or anywhere else for that matter. But it's a peaceful place to live. It's in the Pines. It's a little bit different than going like El Dorado Hills. And people are kind of flocking there, driving up home prices. At the same time, people want to rent there.
Well, once again, most people, when they move out to those sideline or overflow cities, they're not moving out there to stay renters. They're moving out there to advance their position by becoming homeowners. So that's the reason why you see rents out there are not attractive, because when you make that determination that you're going to head out, you're going to add onto your commute costs. If you're not working from home, there's got to be a trade-off. There's got to be a benefit. The benefit is home ownership.
Yeah, and for me, it's the appeal of the job growth. You look at places like Reno. Reno's probably the closest big city or second-tier city that we're going to see grow pretty fast. It's hitting a lot of new levels. Inventory is starting to fall off. It's a little tighter. It's a hot market. My parents live in Reno, so I have a little bit of I might be biased a little bit on that, but we're seeing more and more companies moving to places like Reno where that millennial their starting income can buy a house there as opposed to places like the Bay Area. You can always call the show 800-516-1220. Get your comments on the air, 800-516-1220. We kind of hit the story earlier, 2017, showing a large equity gains, according to CoreLogic, 91,000 regained equity positions in the first quarter of 2007. I think I said 9 million. It's really
9 million. I thought
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
an outrageous number, but I didn't want to challenge you on the air.
You're welcome to. I've already corrected you 3 times. I actually
Okay.
wrote them down. I'll recite them later.
All right, no worries.
But that's good news for people looking to refinance. One of the things that I know you run across this all the time too, because you own property in Albuquerque and in Phoenix, and it's taken a long time for these properties to come back in value. To hear that the equities are starting to come back, it gives people an opportunity to get out of those loans and refinance into the rates while they're here. We were really concerned that we were going to see low rates for maybe 2 or 3 years, and a lot of people who had credit issues, a lot of people who had equity issues, weren't going to be able to capture those low rates. And now that we're seeing that low rates may, if any, creep up slowly but stay low for a long period of time, gives people more opportunity as these home prices grow to get out of them.
Yeah, it gives people an opportunity to catch up, especially, if you look at the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac rules as far as foreclosure is concerned. The window of opportunity is 7 years. That's a long time to keep a group of people on the sidelines, in my opinion, to become homeowners. Where, FHA is only 3 years on short sale and 4 years on foreclosure. So that's a 3-year different span where you have to sit on the sidelines and not become eligible to purchase. The non-QM loans that we do, you can be 1 day out of foreclosure. Of course, the difference in buying a property with a non-QM, and you're looking at a larger down payment, and you got a higher interest rate and higher points and higher fees. But it's always a trade-off. Somewhere along the line, you got to pay sometimes to get what you get, and you just got to figure out which situation actually works for you. The situation that works for me might not be the best for you. You just have to always work within your means, work within your budget, and help you to make a sound decision on which opportunity you're looking to get to as far as being a homeowner or staying a homeowner.
I really love this email, and we're going to get to it in the next break. But Charles, he's out of San Mateo. He wants to know, he has property out of state. He wants to know if you can use a Fannie Mae home style loan, which is it's a renovation loan, but it's a renovation loan that you can use on investment property. He is just about underwater, but he wants to know if he can use a Fannie Mae home style loan to gain the equity, to regain equity by doing a renovation loan, maybe adding something to his house and getting that equity back, and that'll help him get the low rate.
It might be an opportunity.
We're going to talk about that when we come back after this break. You can always email the show, Tony@BayAreaLoanSource.com. You can always go to our website, BayAreaLoanSource.com. We do a newsletter. You can always sign up for that as well.
And we do Facebook Live.
And we do Facebook Live after the show. I think we're going to do that on the low down payment products.
Okay.
We'll come back after this break here on AM 1220 KDOW.
This is Money 2.0 on AM 1220 KDOW.
Take me to your best friend's house, going round this roundabout, oh yeah.
Welcome back into the Real Estate Report. I'm Tony Mendes.
And I'm Gordon Hinds.
So there's a lot of people out there, Gordon, feel like they've been left behind.
Sign of the times.
As far as, it may have been that you missed out on buying a house, but there's a lot of people who have owned houses and kept them as rentals or whatever, and they've had something go wrong with their credit, or they've had an equity issues. And we're talking about equity issues, and we're seeing these reports that 91,000 more homes are now in an equity position as they were before the last quarter. So more equity. But what about somebody who's in a position where they're just on that edge, but it's just not growing? You just aren't seeing enough growth, and you're not going to get back equity, but they're sitting at a higher interest rate, or they just need to reamortize, or they need to get cash out to fix the property, and they just can't do it. So we got an email, and I was prompted by an email from Charles in San Mateo. He owns a property in Phoenix, and he hasn't been able to get the value hasn't gone up enough. He still is upside down, even though he's been paying for probably quite a few years. What about a Fannie Mae home-style renovation loan? Fannie Mae home-style renovation loan allows you to do a renovation loan on an investment property as long as it's one unit. And you take that unit, maybe you can add some, maybe you add some amenities, you add maybe another room, you turn it from a 2-bedroom to a 3-bedroom, or a 3-in-1 to 3-in-2, and you increase the value that way. You get the loan, the renovation loan. It allows you to use future value of that property, and then you can lock in a low interest rate, and they'll refinance you to that higher value. What do you think of that strategy? See anybody using that now?
We haven't seen a lot of that because Fannie Mae home style people. A lot of people don't know about it. That's why it's always important to check with a professional. A lot of different programs out there that are unique. Like for example, that just triggered me for another program. I just saw a person do it the other day. I haven't seen one of those in a long time. An FHA Title I loan. FHA has a program. They'll give you $25,000 per house per unit. It has to be owner occupied. There's no equity required. There's no appraisal required. They'll give you $25,000 as long as you can show that you're going to put this $25,000 back into your current residence. So there's a lot of unique programs that are out there that people just got to learn how to get wind of. Do a little bit of research. Start with the web. Go to many different sources. Talk to professionals. Talk to us people. And we can kind of direct you and guide you in a direction that we can get you a source or a solution to your problem.
Yeah, and going back to the Fannie Mae home style for an investor who's had trouble with his equity and he wants to get out of that higher interest rate into the low interest rates, the Fannie Mae home style actually offers current rates.
It does.
Okay. There could be another advantage too. Maybe you could use this to almost fix up anything on the house, and maybe you just do it to fix it up so that you could rent it for a higher amount. So, and that gets your tenant out, gets you a new tenant in. You just work through your state and local laws to make sure that you're not going to get sued by kicking someone out. But I can see this working for a lot of people, and they just need to know about it.
Well, as you mentioned earlier, a lot of people that makes bad decisions. I know a lot of investors that had properties when the market was tight and had tenant problems and sold those properties just to get rid of the tenant headache, as we call it. And now a lot of them say, man, Gordon, I wish I hadn't sold that property. Rents have quadrupled or values have gone up so much and I bailed too soon. So it's kind of interesting. The timing is very, very important in our business, which brings me to the segment that I like to talk about every day, this day in history. This day in history, every week we talk about what happened on this particular day we're on the show. We try to bring real estate events and we can't always find one. 4 quick things that I could think happened. NFL and the AFL joined forces today. And Founder of Islam died. I think that's kind of right to where we are today. And, of course, Robert Kennedy was buried in 1968. So we'll be back next week. Always glad that we know that you're out there listening. And we're always glad to be providing a great service to keep you listening.
You can always go to our website, BayAreaLoanSource.com. Email the show, Tony@BayAreaLoanSource.com. Or Gordon with any investment questions, Gordon@BayAreaLoanSource.com. We'll come back next week here on AM 1220. This is the Real Estate Report.